Yankees, and the Yankees are playing as good of baseball as anybody now.
Well, then there's the argument that I have against Tampa. They're beating the bad teams.
Right.
They haven't beat the Yankees. They are not beating the Red Sox.
Right.
And they're facing another one of the elite teams tonight.
Tampa, though, they're facing a lefty, and they have beat up on lefties this year. They're 9-4 against lefties. And as a home underdog, the last 2 seasons, Dave, of plus 125 or more, they're 15-8 in that role. This is one of those ones it's be a nice one to watch. I worry a little bit, and we talked about this either on the pod last week or on the show. Tampa going to this second day of using the starter. Do you think this is going to wear down that bullpen? That's my concern with Tampa.
It could, but what are you going to do? You got Glasnow hurt, and they feel that this is their better route than just starting Beeks. And the Dodgers, by the way, did something interesting tonight. They're starting a lefty hitter in the leadoff spot, and he'll probably get replaced by Freese second time around when the lefty comes in for Tampa. So Dave Roberts kind of getting proactive as far as that goes. I like that.
We're going to see some more of those kind of moves to try to counteract this stuff as we move forward.
Time for us to check in with Jeff Sherman. And while we're talking with Jeff, we'll hold off on this for just a little bit till we get to the golf. But you now have the ability to place a wager that it's conceivable your grandchildren will be able to cash. It's something to leave you. If you're my age, it's something to leave future generations. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, we'll start with some basketball. And, we talked about this, Jeff, at the start. It might have been 4-0. But that was a really good series between the Warriors and Blazers. I mean, every game was really exciting.
Yeah, it was. And, Golden State got themselves in a hole in 3 of the games they had to work themselves out of. But, they showed their pedigree and their experience and came through with the sweep, and now they have a bit of time off to get better.
Was that a perfect result for the house with Golden State winning but not covering?
Well, the number was bet down. We had Golden State minus 3.5, and it was bet down to 2, so there was some money there. We had a lot of money line bets on the Warriors, so that wasn't so good. So overall, it was about a break-even proposition for us, falling right around the number, but there was a lot of support on the Warriors' money line when it got to that low number, $1.35.
So let's look ahead to what the Warriors will be against either the Bucks or the Raptors.
Well, we have it up right now. We have Golden State minus 180 against Milwaukee, and we said we're going to add this one tomorrow if Toronto wins tonight.
Okay.
We'll end up putting up Golden State minus $5 against Toronto.
Oh, that's big. I didn't expect it that high.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot of faith in the Raptors right now. We've seen it evident in the series against the Bucks, and it's basically Kawhi Leonard, not much help from there. And the Warriors have garnered wagering support for the last 5 years, and the expectation from the betting public would be wanting to bet the Warriors to beat the Raptors. So it'd be considerably higher than the $1.80 that we're seeing with Milwaukee.
Well, Jeff, that would be a great segue then into tonight's Milwaukee-Toronto game because apparently looking at the line tonight, there's not much.
Game's over.
Yeah. Did I miss the score? Because I just keep watching this line move up. I see one place around town that has popped up a 3.5 on it. Do you guys, with this line switch, was this more proactive? Because, there was a 2.5 Toronto in Game 3, and we know that, everybody had to pay the tariff for the team down 0-2 coming back home. But we're talking about a 5.5-point swing here now for Game 4.
Yeah, but if you watch that last game, it was Milwaukee was right there, and they played a pretty poor game, and Giannis didn't even do much. He fouled out and didn't have much production in that one. Milwaukee played pretty poorly and really had an opportunity to win. So then when you look at this situation here, if they get anything out of these guys, that's how the public is betting it. And we really swung it with Milwaukee 2.5, and it's getting supported up to Milwaukee minus 3. Right now we have 75% of the tickets on the Bucks and 50% of the money on the Bucks.
What do you think about this game? Because, look, the Raptors did get some momentum coming out of that win. They did everything they could to kind of blow the game with some really bad offense at the end of both regulation and the first overtime. But they got out with the win, and they've got to feel great about their chances, don't they?
Yeah, normally I would be looking at Toronto plus 3 here because I know in the regular season this line would never be this. But I'm a little bit leery with Kawhi Leonard and his injury because I think he might be hampered a bit. And if that's the case and he can't get the normal production that he gets, it could be a long night for Toronto.
Jeff, is this public and sharp money or public money driving it?
It's been just public so far. We haven't seen the Sharps get too involved. I mean, they did bet the total over when we were at 216.5, but we haven't seen anything on the side from the Sharps.
Let's look at the NHL, and wow, they are pounding the St. Louis Blues tonight. This line has just gone wild. It's like, are you getting any action on the Sharks?
Well, we opened this one $1.50 on St. Louis, but then we made an adjustment mostly on air with Carlson and Hurdle being out tonight and Pavelski questionable. So those are three key components to the Sharks right there. And it's a real bad spot right now considering that for San Jose. Obviously they need to win, but just missing all those guys, it really compounds what they have to go through tonight. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of energy in that building for St. Louis. And, we are getting right now 54% of the money and 68% of the tickets on St. Louis. So even though we have driven the lineup based on the player movement, the support's still coming in.
Superbook USA have any preference as to the Blues or the Sharks moving on to the next series?
Yeah, we're in a lot better position on St. Louis. We have liability on San Jose as it built up all season, so we'd be better off to see St. Louis play Boston.
And speaking of that, if St. Louis wins tonight, they will be playing the Bruins. They met in 1970, 49 years ago, and one of the most famous goals of all time, the final goal of the series in overtime in Game 4, the Blues get beat by Bobby Orr, and that's just an amazing goal. Not that it made a difference. The Bruins were established. That was the very first year of existence for the Blues, so they weren't going to win any games that series anyway. But it was still a thriller. We'll get to see that replayed about 9 million times if the Blues take on the Bruins. What is the price going to be? The Bruins with all this rest, is that going to concern bettors or concern you in terms of making a number?
No, I saw that they have a scrimmage. They're charging people to come watch an inter-squad game with the Bruins play, so they're trying to stay sharp that way. But we're looking at Bruins probably about $1.50 against St. Louis, and if somehow they were to play San Jose, it would start out at Boston about $1.60 and could go anywhere up towards $2 depending on the availability of Carlson, Hurdle, and some of the others coming back.
Heading to golf, Jeff, how did the weekend in the PGA play out for you guys with Koepka winning, and I'm sure with Tiger missing the cut was very favorable for you guys? Well,
Tiger missing the cut was favorable for our outright future book, but we did have money on him to miss the cut at 6-1 in the proposition. Tiger's so polarizing that's what you get. You get a ton of money on him to win, and you get some support on him to do poorly too. So him missing the cut was not a good result for us. And then Koepka was not a good result. We were a small loser with Koepka, as he was number 1 in ticket count, number 2 in money wagered. So 10-1, a lot of people cashed those tickets. I had opened them at 14, and we know where he is now in this power rating structure, where he's a 6-1 favorite for the U.S. Open.
So he's at 4 majors now, is that correct?
Yeah, he's won 4 of the last 8, 2 U.S. Opens and 2 PGAs. So now in his title defense, he's going for a 3-peat at the U.S. Open next month at Pebble Beach.
And, of course, somebody had to do this. You guys are just awesome. This is fantastic. You now have a future bet available on over or under 7.5, and it's good until 2040.
Yeah, I did this for Tiger, how many career major wins he'll have by his 50th birthday, so right before he'd be eligible for the Champions Tour. And that's what I just did for Koepka. And so he's 29. You got a 21-year potential shelf life on this. And, if you bet the over and he gets there before the 21 years, we'll post it right away. We'll grade it then. But if not, and you bet the under, it's a bit of a wait, and it's the longest duration that we've ever put something up. So we thought it'd be, at this time, a good talking point with the streak that he's on, with 4 in the last 8 major wins, because people want to gauge about what our expectations are for his career. And right now it's 7.5 for total career major wins.
So if I were to bet this would be something I would need to will. No, seriously, this would be something I'd have to put in my will. If it's a $5 ticket, it doesn't matter. But if it's a substantial amount, I would have to put this in my will and put it, I don't know, a safety deposit box or something like that for whoever I leave whatever I've got left to when I'm gone. Because this chances, I'd be 87 when this thing expires. So there's let's just say I'm minus even to be around when this ticket expires. I should expire before the ticket.
Will we even be able to read the ink on the ticket if it goes the distance?
I won't remember what the hell it is anyway. What's a Brooks Koepka? I mean, are you going? I would think you're going to get a lot of over. I mean, seriously, I think you're going to get a lot of over money on this.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is when I did it for Tiger, the shelf life was 7 years up to 2025. And I didn't expect that much money, and we've actually seen a lot of support, especially over the 18.5 of him breaking Jack Nicklaus's record. And so it won't surprise me if some support comes in for this, and I would advise people to take photocopies of your ticket, so in case a ticket fades, anything like that. But the easiest thing to do is just bet it on the app.
Yeah, bet it on the app,
It's
exactly.
stuck in there, and you can't lose it. We don't have to go through any lost ticket claim process or anything like that. So, it's done mostly for – we had some time today. It's a slow news day. We thought people might like to talk about it, and it's getting a lot of traction.
We do, yeah. It's fun, and it's something you can consider. Okay, this week, no major. It's the Schwab, and this is now we're going to a shot makers tournament where distance doesn't seem to be a real big deal. This is hit the greens and make some putts. Is that the way you're looking at this one?
Yeah, there's no doubt. This is almost like the Heritage after the Masters, where it's a short par 70 course, 7,000 yards, and it's just shot makers. And that to me that starts with Paul Casey. You can find him at 25-1. We have a decent field here where Justin Rose is a 10-1 favorite, followed by John Rahm at 12, Fowler at 12. Speed's finding some form lately. He's at 12-1. But you go down the list a bit and look for some of the guys that are some shot makers. You don't need the length here, so it's that type of golfer. And the one that stood out to me is Paul Casey in the 25-1 range.
Has there been any advantage to going with guys who weren't in contention at the PGA the week after the major, or does playing well in the PGA correlate to perhaps playing well the next week?
Over the career of doing this, usually you fade the guys that are in contention, but these young guys now have such a different mindset. Like, I'll give you the example at the Masters. Patrick Cantley was competing for a Masters win, and he backed it up the next week with a top 10 at the Heritage, which is that's unusual to see that. So some of these young guys, if you had some of them up there competing for that title, like Xander Schauffele, I'd expect him to take that form and go right into this tournament, and he's 16-1. So that used to be the way of thinking, but I don't think so much anymore.
Schauffele off a bad back nine on Sunday, but was actually playing very well before that. And Cantley with another really good tournament. He's going to get some play at the U.S. Open, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he's one guy that I've already played myself quite a bit. So I've gotten myself involved with Dustin Johnson at 10-1 and Cantley between 40 and 45-1. I opened Cantley 30-1, and I'm expecting if he does anything playing in the Memorial the following week, I could see him going off at 25-1 in that range.
All right, one guy who didn't have a great Sunday, but I love the way he played in the tournament, and he's my next guy to break his PGA maiden. Not this week. It's not his type of course, but Luke List is going to break through and win a tournament. This guy, and you're going to get a decent price when he does, but maybe not as decent a price as you would have thought, because I think I'm not the only one with the thoughts that Luke List is about to break through.
No, the interesting thing is when I discussed this going into the season with one of the guys that helps me with golf, Eric here, Luke List is the one guy that Eric said this year he expects to get a win.
Yep.
And, he's had a fantastic season picking up from the end of last year. And, he was right there in contention at the PGA, and I expect to see more good things out of him in the future.
Jeff, where are we going for soccer this week?
Well, all the leagues are pretty much winding down in Europe. There isn't too much going on, but we do have the Mexican League of Mexico is finishing off their season, and they have the first leg of the final between Club Leon and Tigres. And we have the current price. Let me grab that real quick. It's Tigres -0.5 even money, Leon +0.5 -120, and they're playing Thursday night. So the top two teams from the regular season of the Clausura are going at it on Thursday night.
And, of course, we keep mentioning this. I mean, you would think the NFL season's already underway with the number of available options at Superbook USA. I mean, you guys have got a ton of stuff up.
Yeah, we have the over-under wins, teams to make the playoffs, division odds, and it's getting a ton of play. And some of the more popular things as of late, the Bears over 9, the Browns, they just won't slow down on that, over 9 wins. And then we've seen some sharp play in the last couple of weeks on the Chiefs under 10.5 wins. So, you're seeing some line movements now, even though we're still a few months away from football.
Everything's on the app. You don't even have to have an account to download the app and see what's available, and that includes the Koepka prop. And then just get over to Superbook USA at the Westgate, sign up for an account, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it's that easy, and you don't even need to have the account to view everything that we have up. So, if you'd rather